Well, guys, I hate to say it, but the religion of peace strikes again. I mean, people like me have been warning you guys for centuries, forever. I don't even, just forever. You know what I mean? We've lived this culture. We've experienced this culture. We've studied this culture. We know what it's about, okay? We're not just talking, out of our asses, all right? I lived it. I experienced it. I walked away from it because I understood and realized how sick it was, how mentally sick it was. So I walked the fuck out of it. I walked the fuck away and never ever looked back and never will look back. It can fuck itself to the fullest extent. So people like me get so upset when shit like this happens because we've warned you. We've warned you multiple times, but you don't listen. Like I said, I've lived it. Okay? I've lived it. I'm an X, big XM, for a reason. Okay? Not an idiot. So, this is what they do, buddy. This is what they do. Wherever they go, there's conflict because it's part of their culture. Just let that sink in. Let that register. It is part of their culture. Okay? So, once again, we have a French teacher who was beheaded for simply publishing a fucking cartoon. A cartoon. The man was fully beheaded. And the worst part of the whole situation is, of course, the beheading is obviously really bad. But worse than that, in my humble opinion, is the response from the Muslim or Islamic community. Defending the beheading. That to me is the epitome of sickness. I mean, it doesn't get any sicker than that. So you have Muslims around the world globally actually supporting and defending the beheading. I mean, over a fucking cartoon. I mean, it doesn't get lower and more animalistic than that. These people are nothing short of animals. To call them human is an insult. It's a disgrace to actual human beings. I mean, I'm not saying every Muslim, obviously not, but right now it looks like a good percentage of them are actually in defense to the beheading. And it's evolved to the point now where a lot of Muslims are actually protesting to boycott France because the French president and France as a nation obviously was very upset over the incident. One of their citizens was fucking beheaded over a cartoon in a democratic, free secular nation. And Muslims have the audacity to fucking point the finger at the teacher. Fucking low-life scumbags. So, of course, France, in response to this, said, no way are we going to tolerate any form of extremism or dictatorship. And this is our culture. You know what I mean? And this is how we live our life. This is our culture. So, they decided to, what was the word there? I forgot what France wanted to do. Anyway, but, of course, France was in defense of their citizen and said they're not going to tolerate any type of Islamic extremism. Especially the reason they reacted this way, because they saw the response from the Muslim community, and that aggravated them even more. Of course, I'd be pissed off too. You go and fucking hurt one of my family members or kill them, and then you try to defend your actions. I'd completely annihilate you and your family as revenge. Actually, I wouldn't, because I'm not Muslim anymore. I don't believe in eye for an eye, which is part of the fucking religion. You can go study an bil an, disgusting teaching, by the way. So I don't believe in that revenge belief anymore. But anyways, this is what they do, guys. People like me, people who study this subject in depth, scholars, ex-Muslims, people who've experienced it, have been warning you forever. This is part of their culture. It will not change. Since the inception of Islam in the 7th century, which is 700 AD, it's always been full of blood, killing, torture, war, all of it. Since the beginning and creation of Islam, like I said, in the 7th century AD, 700 years, the year 700, it was, like I said, it was created. It's a culture based on violence and war and intimidation and dictatorship. Going back to Muhammad himself, you got, like, I love how they pretend Muhammad was this nice, peaceful, jolly guy and never hurt a fly. Bullshit. The guy when he went to Medina literally took heads off. He himself slaughtered, I think, over hundreds. I don't know how many people he slaughtered. I'm not gonna lie, but he himself has slaughtered many and ordered the slaughter of thousands. So let's not play the bullshit card here. Let's not play the Disneyland card. That's not gonna fly. Okay, and even right when he died, right when Muhammad died, there was a war. There was a what do you call it? A civil war. A civil war between Sunni and Shia right when he died, because the Sunnis wanted to follow Abu Bakr and the Shia wanted to follow Ali, Muhammad's cousin. And boom, right off the bat, Sunni and Shia division was created, and they went to fucking war, and it hasn't stopped since. So like I said, this is what they do. So like I said, just study the history of Islam, and you'll see how it spread and how violent it was, even within its own within its own society. And and then you'll realize. So not only they went to war with each other, they slaughtered all the Middle Eastern Christians, which were the Syriac or Assyrian Syriac Christians of the Middle East, mainly of Iraq and Syria, or the Aramaic Christians, the Maronites of Lebanon, the Copts of Egypt, or the Coptic people of Egypt. I mean, just like I said, just study it. These were all Christian lands. And when the Muslims came marching in, they conquered them all, subjugated them, forced them to convert, pay jizya, which is the tax, or they got killed. They got beheaded. And then they did the same with the Hindus and Buddhists of the Indian subcontinent and Central Asia, from Afghanistan to Pakistan to India, that whole region there, Kazakhstan, all the stands, Turkestan, blah blah blah. Like I said, they forced their way in and just started chopping heads off. And if you were able to retain your culture, to keep your culture, preserve your culture, retain it, you had to pay the jizya, which is the tax. So if you pay us money, we won't kill you. No different than a fucking mafia. If you didn't, like I said, you could convert to Islam, meaning become one of us, you little bitch, or we'll cut your fucking head off. I mean, come on, is this a true religion from God? You know, like, think about it, man. Like, I mean, it's hilarious, man. I mean, I'm not really a religious person, I am spiritual, but I'm definitely not religious. Sorry. But I don't really know if God exists, but I'm pretty sure if there is a God, he's not some wicked, crazy, egotistical maniac who's just what's the word? Just dying for worship and subjugation and torture. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's hilarious. Anyway, like I said, we warned you about this people. This is the way they are. They're not gonna fucking change. Since the beginning, the inception of Islam till now, it's been the same shit. They are not going to change. Okay, so just study the history of Islam, and like I said, you'll start to learn a lot. You'll realize a lot. And even now in today's world, every time there is conflict, number one, it's usually involving some type of Muslim group, and number two, it's usually because, how do I say it? It's because of some type of Islamic extremism or separatism. Like, I'll break it down right now. Okay, the Western world. Let's use the Western world. America has a problem with Islam. Okay, or white Christians. Europeans have a problem with Islam. Indians or Hindus have a problem with Islam. Sri Lankan Buddhists have a problem with Islam. Myanmar Buddhists have a problem with Islam. Thailand Buddhists, problem with Islam. I can go on. I'm not done, trust me. Communist Russia, problem with Islam. Communist China, problem with Islam. I said the Indian Hindus, yes. The Europeans, the Americans, white Christians, problem with Islam. I mean, like I said, wherever Islam goes, there is conflict. So are you telling me that around the world, globally, it's all these people's fault and not the Muslims? I think it's time to look in the fucking mirror and start to point the finger at yourselves. Islam is the problem, not the people. Because wherever Islam goes, whether it be in Myanmar or southern Thailand or in India or in Russia or in China or in Europe or in America, they become, not in the beginning. In the beginning, when they're a minority, yeah, they're calm and nice and peaceful because they don't have the manpower, they don't have the strength. But once they grow and become stronger, especially if they become the majority, then it's on, baby. Then they start demanding this, they start demanding that. They want Sharia law, they want the Khalifa to be established. Oh, it just goes on, baby. And that's when the extremism comes in and the separatism. Like I said, a lot of times, what China is doing to the Uyghurs is just a response to Islamic separatism because the Uyghurs want to separate from China. So they become extreme in it and start committing terrorist attacks. Same with the Rohingya in Myanmar. What the Myanmar Buddhists did, or the army, it was just a response to Islamic extremism and terrorism and separatism. Sorry, that's it. Same with in Russia, when the communist Russia annihilated a whole bunch of Muslims in the southern regions of Dagestan, Chechnya, and all that. Again, Islamic separatism and extremism. They didn't want to assimilate and become part of Russian culture because they're Muslims, and whoever's not Muslim is kafir. If you know what kafir means, it doesn't mean unbeliever. That's complete bullshit. Only the non-Arab fools, the wannabes, think that because they don't know Arabic. Kafir actually means, really? Kafir is like cursed, scum, kafirhum. It's kafirhun. It's not a good word. Okay? It's more than unbeliever. Trust me. So yeah, that's how these people are. These people, like I said, this is who they are. They will not change. They cannot live in today's modern world. They cannot coexist with other nations, communities, societies peacefully. They cannot, because it's part of their culture, their religion. Like I said, their religion, their culture teaches that all non-Muslims are kafir, which, like I said, really means cursed. Okay, scumbags, and they're all going to hell. They're all destined for Jahannam. There's no saving them. Okay, so this is their view. This is their mentality. So how are you going to change them? There's no changing these people. Okay, like I said, they view all non-Muslims as kafir, and of course there's good Muslims. The Muslims who are good Muslims are not really following Islam, because true Islam teaches all non-Muslims, every one of them is kafirun, and they're going to Jahannam. There's no questions asked. That's the true face of Islam. In my opinion, ISIS or Daesh was the true form of Islam. That's the real old school, true, hardcore militant Islam. So let's not play the games here. It is what it is, you know what I mean? So unless Islam, unless this religion is willing to be reformed, if it's going to go through a reformation like Christianity did, okay, it's going to be updated, then it cannot coexist peacefully with today's world. It just can't. That's why we're seeing these problems all over this world, these conflicts. That's why we're seeing these conflicts all over the world involving Muslims. In Africa too, I forgot, sorry, African Christians and spiritualists. I forgot to mention you. Even in Africa, Muslims are fucking creating hell between the African Muslims and Christians. So this is what they do, man. That's why I'm an ex for a reason. I'll never go back to that garbage culture. Absolute garbage, full of brainwashing and fear and intimidation and control and dictatorship. Oh, just turns me off completely. Nothing spiritual about it, in my opinion. Nothing. Complete garbage. Like I said, there are good Muslims, and it can be interpreted in a good way, but you're just fooling and deceiving yourself. That's not the true Islam. That's why I walked away. That's not true, authentic Islam. So, yep. This is, like I said, this is what we're stuck with to deal with. So